She fell in love with her own brother and ran away with him after their father found out. Years later, their secret child returns to claim the family fortune, but as soon as he does, people around him start dying one by one. An elderly man stumbles through the night, clearly intoxicated, then collapses. Foam bubbles at his lips as he takes his final breath. The story quickly shifts to a prestigious university campus. Boxes of newly printed books are delivered to Seo Ha, a capable but overlooked instructor working under the renowned Professor Kim and his elusive ghostwriter. Professor Kim offers her a hollow thank you for her efforts. Seo Ha seizes the moment to ask for a promotion to professor, but he dismisses her request with a polite smile and a signed copy of his new book. She forces a smile, masking her disappointment. As she steps out of his office, her phone buzzes. A private investigator has sent her damning photographs. Her husband is cheating. With a quiet resolve, she texts the investigator to stop digging further. Just then, another call comes in, this time from the police. An unknown relative has died, and they need her to identify the body. The deceased is Yoon Myung-gil, the very man who died foaming at the mouth. Authorities suspect foul play. Poison was found in a beer bottle near the body, and the case is now being handled as a homicide. Leading the investigation is Captain Sang-min, a seasoned officer. But Detective Sung-joon, acting without authorization, has already started digging into the case on his own. Tension flares when the police arrive at Myung-gil's home. Sang-min confronts Sung-joon, angry that a subordinate is investigating behind his back. Their relationship clearly hostile. If you can't follow orders, Sang-min growls, then maybe it's time you quit. Sung-joon apologizes, but his curiosity refuses to rest. Before the others arrive, he discovers a mysterious contract, plans for constructing a golf course, tied to the land Myung-gil once owned. At the hospital, Seo Ha and her husband arrive to identify the body. She stares at the corpse of a man she's never met. We learn she severed ties with her father in childhood and, as a result, lost touch with her paternal relatives. Despite the distance, Seo Ha is the only known next of kin. The police inform her that she has inherited Myung-gil's land, a large and valuable burial site. The revelation stuns both her and her husband. The police note nothing suspicious in their reactions. But as they leave, her husband's demeanor shifts. He bombards her with questions about how much they can make from selling the land. A peculiar man approaches Seo Ha and her husband outside the hospital. Introducing himself as the village chief, he offers to assist with the funeral arrangements, noting Seo Ha's unfamiliarity with the village and the deceased. Myung-gil was cherished by our people, he says warmly. We'd like to give him a proper farewell. He urges her to sign a release form at the morgue, assuring her he'll handle everything. Meanwhile, Detective Sung-joon returns to the village to continue his unofficial investigation. As he walks through the quiet streets, a loudspeaker crackles with an announcement about Myung-gil's upcoming funeral. Curious, he heads to the gathering. But the funeral is far from somber. Villagers drink, toast, and celebrate, more a festival than a farewell. Then chaos erupts. A disheveled man bursts into the ceremony to pay his respects but suddenly starts shouting that he is Seo Ha's half-brother and the rightful heir to Myung-gil's land. His aggression escalates and the villagers intervene and drag him out. Shock and confusion ripple through the crowd. Back at the precinct, the detectives convene. Through records and DNA testing, they confirm the man's identity: Kim Young-ho, Seo Ha's half-brother. Though Seo Ha was the only relative listed on paper, Myung-gil had two siblings, Seo Ha's father and a younger sister, both now deceased. Still, Young-ho's connection adds a new wrinkle to the inheritance. Frustrated by Sung-joon's rogue actions, Captain Sang-min instructs the department to disregard any orders issued by him. A flashback reveals a piece of Seo Ha's past. As a teenager, her mother begged her to move to the city with a wealthy man they barely knew, desperate to escape poverty. But Seo Ha refused. She ran away, searching for her father, only to find him playing joyfully with a young boy who wasn't her. Back in the present, the village chief introduces Seo Ha to Kwang-soo, a representative from Yeo Construction. He expresses keen interest in buying her newly inherited burial ground, offering a tempting sum. At the same time, Sung-joon's investigation leads him to an abandoned storage facility linked to the golf course project. Inside, he discovers hidden bags of thallium, a deadly poison. The building is registered under none other than the village chief. Later that night, Seo Ha and her husband attend what they believe is Professor Kim's birthday celebration. But to Seo Ha's dismay, it turns out to be a promotion party for her colleague, Professor Han. As they leave, Professor Kim casually admits he never pushed for her promotion. "I still need to depend on you with my work," he says with a smile. "Next time I will put in a good word for you." His words sting, kind but laced with manipulation. Elsewhere, Sung-joon quietly places his investigation report on Sang-min's desk. When Sang-min reads it, everything falls into place. He calls in his team with urgency and orders the immediate arrest of the village chief. Cornered, the chief crumbles and shifts the blame. He confesses that Kwang-soo had promised immense profits once the golf course was completed. The chief had convinced most of the villagers to sell, but Myung-gil refused. His plot sat squarely in the middle of the planned site. Investors pulled out. Furious, Kwang-soo decided to eliminate the obstacle. Police track Kwang-soo to a lavish bar, where he's drinking with investors, celebrating the project's revival. His celebration ends in handcuffs when the police arrive. After the tense evening with Professor Kim, Seo-ha drives home with her husband. Her husband accuses her of deceiving him about her career since she told him she was a professor. Seo-ha, overwhelmed by betrayal, demands a divorce. He refuses, insisting he won't agree to anything until the land inheritance is resolved. He argues that he's entitled to half. Without a word, Seo-ha reveals the photos from the private investigator, clear evidence of his affair. She forces him out of the car, leaving him stranded on a cold, empty road. As she drives away, her husband stumbles through the darkness and calls his mistress. From the shadows, someone emerges and shoots him. Seo-ha arrives home, unaware that she's now a widow. At dawn, an old man driving his tractor notices something unusual by the bridge. He walks down to check and makes a chilling discovery: Seo-ha's husband, half buried in the frozen mud. When Sung-joon wakes up, he receives news about the murder. At the station, Seo-ha sits in shock, trying to process what's happened. She admits to hiring a private investigator but is blindsided by the accusation that she's a suspect. Desperate, she points to her half-brother, Young-ho, as a potential lead. But the police already checked. He has a confirmed alibi. As she exits the precinct, Seo-ha comes face to face with Young-ho. His silent, menacing presence sends a chill down her spine. Sung-joon meets with the forensic team. The weapon used was an old hunting rifle. The killer had dragged the body under the bridge, careful, but not flawless. There's a chance the killer left behind DNA. The forensic colleague mentions the upcoming police layoffs and speculates that Sang-min might be the first to go. He hints it could work in Sung-joon's favor, but Sung-joon immediately chides him for the sentiments. Elsewhere, Sang-min delivers the Myung-gil case report to the police chief, stating that the two murders will be handled separately. The chief, recognizing Sung-joon's writing style, commends the quality of the report, making Sang-min feel inadequate. Outside the office, Sang-min overhears detectives gossiping. Rumors of departmental restructuring are spreading. Most think Sung-joon is at risk of being cut. Some believe it's unjust. Sung-joon has been solving cases under Sang-min's name, and losing him would be a serious blow to the department. They also allude to a deeper, complicated history between the two men. A flashback reveals what happened years ago. Sung-joon and Sang-min once worked side by side. During a stakeout, the captain ordered one of them to return to the station. Sang-min volunteered, but Sung-joon insisted on going instead, citing seniority. He left in a rush, forgetting his phone. A message soon arrived, a photo of Sung-joon's son, seemingly kidnapped. Realizing the urgency, Sang-min went to the location himself. What he walked into was a trap. In a brutal confrontation, he was stabbed and badly injured, carried away by an ambulance. Later, the truth unraveled. The kidnapping was a setup by school bullies who threatened Sung-joon's son to stab his dad. The wounds Sang-min suffered should have been Sung-joon's. Since the incident, Sang-min walked with a limp. As a result, depression crept in, fracturing his relationships with his wife and children. During the next meeting about Seo-ha's husband's murder, the detectives learn that the weapon used was a rare 30-year-old rifle from America, something very few people would own. Sang-min tells the team to focus on Seo-ha and her half-brother Young-ho. He's convinced they're key to solving this case. Sang-min asks Sung-joon to meet him, and tensions run high as Sang-min is furious about the report on Myung-gil's case. The document, though accurate, makes it seem as though Sang-min had discovered the golf course motive on his own. To Sang-min, it feels like Sung-joon is trying to help him save face, as if he's not capable of solving anything himself. He accuses Sung-joon of pitying him and demands the report be rewritten. Sung-joon apologizes and quietly leaves. Meanwhile, Seo-ha informs Professor Kim about her husband's death. At the funeral, she hides in the bathroom and overhears Professor Han gossiping with a colleague. They talk about her misfortunes and say she was born into a cursed family. Their words sting deeply. After that, Seo-ha asks Professor Han to leave and take the ceremonial sheath she brought with her. Before she can collect her thoughts, the private investigator shows up. As he leaves, he mentions that his friend is selling a building and suggests that Seo-ha consider buying it since she recently inherited land. Seo-ha sees Young-ho walking around the funeral home. Feeling uneasy, she chases after the private investigator and asks about the building. She learns the owner is in a hurry to sell. It's to pay for his daughter's wedding. That night, Seo-ha is haunted by nightmares. In her dreams, Young-ho is the one who killed her husband. Shaken, she agrees to meet the man selling the building. They meet at a shady bar. The owner, Moo-ju, offers to sell it for 3 billion won. Seo-ha says she doesn't have the money, but Moo-ju already knows about her land and suggests she sell it to make the down payment. She could then use the building to get a loan. When she mentions that the land is tied up in a police investigation, Moo-ju offers to help remove any obstacles. Later that night, Seo-ha returns home and sees something terrifying. Young-ho is walking out of her building with blood on his hands. Inside, she finds a trail of blood leading to her door. The door is covered in red smears and strange symbols, one that she hasn't seen since childhood. She remembers being a little girl, hiding behind her mother during one of her father's shaman rituals. She cries when her father throws a fit and starts wrecking everything. Chaos stayed with her. Back in the present, Seo-ha reports the incident to the police. They bring in Young-ho for questioning. He calmly says he was visiting his sister and left a talisman on her door to protect her. Young-ho explains that the talisman was meant to protect Seo-ha from bad luck. He insists that he only wanted to help his sister, who has been through a lot lately. But Seo-ha doesn't believe him. She's convinced that he's the killer. Still, the police have already confirmed his alibi and rule him out as a suspect. Later, Seo-ha remembers something from her childhood. When she was 7, she saw her father with a hunting rifle. That happens to be the same year the bullet shell used in her husband's murder was made. Sang-min immediately goes to question Young-ho about the rifle. Young-ho says he never saw his father with a gun and even tells them to search his house if they want. But Sang-min thinks Young-ho is hiding something and quietly orders Detective Young-hyun to follow him. Outside the station, Young-ho tries to talk to Seo-ha, but she's scared. She locks herself in her car and drives away. Sung-joon then speaks to Young-ho, asking about his background. He's curious why Young-ho's last name is Kim, while Seo-ha's is Yoon. As they talk, it becomes clear that no one knows anything about Young-ho's mother. Seo-ha's father was married to Seo-ha's mother until his death. Yet, Young-ho was supposedly very close to him. Sung-joon wonders why, if that's true, Young-ho's name was never added to the official family registry. Meanwhile, Seo-ha faces more trouble at work. When she arrives at her university, she sees new books being thrown out. Then she sees a shocking post on the school website claiming that she ghostwrote Professor Kim's book. She calls Professor Kim, who is furious because the dean summoned him over the matter. Seo-ha suspects Professor Han and confronts her, but she denies everything. She accuses Seo-ha of posting the rumor herself to get revenge on Professor Kim for not helping with her promotion. Elsewhere, the private investigator meets Seo-ha again, trying to pressure her into buying the building. On the phone, Moo-ju reminds him that if the building isn't sold soon, it will go to auction. He's desperate for money to pay for his daughter's wedding and tells him to convince Seo-ha to buy it no matter what. Seo-ha asks Hong-sik to dig into Young-ho's background and search his home for the rifle. She tells him she wants to solve her husband's murder before making any decisions about the building. Sung-joon visits Seo-ha at the university and asks her about her relationship with her father. She admits they weren't close before he died. Later that night, Seo-ha finds Professor Kim drinking with friends and tries to talk to him. But instead of helping, he crosses a line and tries to make a move on her. Professor Han sees everything and uses it against her. She loudly accuses Seo-ha of being the professor's mistress and tells her to quit the university before her reputation is completely destroyed. Seo-ha finally snaps. She throws a drink in Professor Han's face, knocks things off the table, and shatters bottles against the wall before storming out. Hong-sik sneaks into Young-ho's house and is shocked to find shamanic items all over the place. As he looks around, he finds bloody clothes hidden in a cabinet, along with a large stack of cash, which he quietly slips into his pocket. He also discovers a photo album filled with pictures of children from Purian Children's Home. At the same time, Sung-joon also finds a name registry form for Young-ho from the same children's home. This leads him to investigate nearby temples, hoping to find a link. He tracks down one temple run by a monk who also works as a shaman. Back at Young-ho's house, Hong-sik flips through a hidden notebook and he rushes out. But as he tries to drive away, his car gets stuck. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appears and shoots him multiple times. The killer performs a creepy shaman ritual over Hong-sik's body before placing him in the back seat of the car and driving away. Meanwhile, Young-ho is driving home, muttering to himself. He keeps saying that once he claims the land, the killings will stop. Once inside, he lies in front of his father's altar and talks to the photo, begging for help. He says he needs to take ownership of the land before more people die. Then he sees a note left near his father's portrait. It reads, Yoon Seo-ha and Kang Hong-sik will die. He screams at the empty room, demanding whoever is behind it to stop. This suggests someone may be manipulating him. Sung-joon continues his investigation and arrives at Gyeonggamsa Temple while Young-hyun is still secretly following Young-ho. When Sung-joon reaches the temple, he finds it looks more like a fortune teller's house, so he starts taking photos of the surroundings. In a nearby shed, he discovers a disturbing scene: animal blood and ritual supplies. Suddenly, a woman shows up and points a walking stick at him. Fortunately, the woman is nice and decides to answer his questions. Sung-joon asks her about the drawings found on Seo-ha and Young-ho's doors. She explains she inherited the temple from her grandmother 15 years ago. She doesn't know Young-ho but says the drawings look very old, something her godmother might have made. He asks her if they could visit her godmother, who now lives in a nursing home. At the nursing home, Sung-joon meets the godmother, who has dementia. At first, she seems frightened of him, but when he shows her the talisman drawing, she suddenly scolds him as if she remembers him from long ago. She says the drawing is wrong and that if someone wants to become her disciple, they need to follow her teachings. She mentions a lady who brought her child along, begging for shelter. From her words, Sung-joon begins to suspect that the man was Young-ho's mother and the child was Young-ho. Back at home, Seo-ha finally receives a message from Hong-sik, who has been missing. He asks her to meet him and sends an address. Worried, Seo-ha rushes out. However, Young-ho spots her and begins tailing her. When she realizes she's being followed, she quickly turns the car around. Young-ho manages to follow, but the detective following Young-ho loses sight of him. Seo-ha doesn't trust Young-ho. She thinks he might be trying to hurt her, so she refuses to stop the car. After a long chase, Young-ho manages to block her path and tries to talk to her. But Seo-ha locks herself in the car and won't open the door. Desperate, Young-ho warns her that the land is cursed, and the only way she can stay safe is by giving it up. Just then, the detective arrives and arrests Young-ho. At the station, they take him into the interrogation room while Seo-ha waits outside. Sang-min sends a police officer to the address Hong-sik had texted Seo-ha. The officer arrives and discovers a horrifying scene: Hong-sik's half-burned body inside his burned car. The detectives recover Hong-sik's phone and find text messages between him and Seo-ha. She had asked him to investigate Young-ho. Now she's sure Young-ho killed Hong-sik and begs the police to act before he kills again. Sang-min is convinced that Young-ho murdered both Seo-ha's husband and the private investigator. In the interrogation room, things get intense. Young-ho insists he didn't kill anyone, but Sang-min doesn't believe him. Sang-min asks the chief for a search warrant for Young-ho's house. The chief warns him that this is his last chance. If he's wrong again, he's finished. Sang-min sends his team to the house. They search everywhere, but there's no murder weapon or solid evidence. To make things worse, a report from the precinct shows that Young-ho and Hong-sik's phones were never in the same place at the same time. That means they never met before Hong-sik's death. Frustrated and out of options, Sang-min asks Seo-ha to file a formal complaint so they can keep Young-ho in custody longer. But she refuses. Right after, Sang-min gets a message from the chief calling him useless and ordering him to release Young-ho immediately. Meanwhile, Sung-joon gets an important call from the medical examiner. He tells him they found a strange bloodstain on the neck of Seo-ha's husband. The medical examiner explains that the blood sample isn't the victim's. It belongs to a woman with blood type A, and DNA analysis shows she shares maternal blood with Young-ho and paternal blood with Seo-ha. That means the killer might be a woman who's related to both of them. A flashback shows young Seo-ha visiting her father years ago. She tells him her mother is happy with a new man who treats them well. Her father coldly tells her not to come back and visit him anymore. Seo-ha quietly longs for her father's love, but never says it out loud. Back in the present, Seo-ha meets Moo-ju to talk about Hong-sik's death. He says her half-brother is lucky to be behind bars, otherwise, he would have taken revenge himself. He also pushes her about buying the building, but she tells him the case isn't over yet. Moo-ju becomes angry when he hears Young-ho was released. He offers to help her take care of Young-ho so she can claim her inheritance faster. This time, Seo-ha agrees. Young-ho is released from police custody and heads home. But when he stops at a red light, a group of men suddenly grabs him and forces him into a van. At the same time, Moo-ju sends a message to Seo-ha, telling her to make up an alibi since they just met Young-ho. In reality, Moo-ju and his men are the ones who kidnapped him. Meanwhile, Sang-min tries to resign from the police force, wanting to take responsibility for his mistakes. But the police chief tore up his resignation letter and says Sung-joon already plans to quit. The chief tells Sang-min to swallow his pride and asks Sung-joon to help solve the case before leaving. Sung-joon returns to the station and finds the other detectives still recovering after releasing Young-ho. He asks if anyone is watching over Seo-ha or Young-ho. When they say no, he becomes alarmed, insisting that Young-ho is not the killer and that both he and Seo-ha are in danger. He urges the team to move quickly and find them. Meanwhile, the shady lawyer and thugs who kidnapped Young-ho try to force him to sign over the land. But Young-ho refuses. He puts up a fight, biting the lawyer on the nose, throwing things at the men, and finally jumping out a window. He lands right in front of Moo-ju's car. Seeing the chaos, Moo-ju panics. He calls Seo-ha and suggests they change the plan. He asks her if they should make Young-ho disappear, saying it would solve all her problems. Seo-ha is shocked and scared. She only wanted Young-ho to sign the papers, not to harm him. But Moo-ju insists. He says Young-ho saw his face, which puts them both at risk. He tells her he'll clean it up and reminds her that his daughter's wedding is at stake, so he would not do a sloppy job. Then he hangs up. When Seo-ha tries to call back, his phone is off. Panicked, she rushes out of her house, unaware that a gray truck starts following her. Back at the station, emotions boil over. Sang-min and Sung-joon get into a heated fight. Sang-min accuses Sung-joon of treating him like a charity case, saying Sung-joon only plans to resign to save his job. He says he's never really been in charge. Things get worse when Sang-min brings up Sung-joon's son, blaming him for his injury. The argument turns physical. Both men end up bruised and exhausted on the floor. They finally have a heart-to-heart. Sung-joon apologizes. He shares how he once blamed his son for his wife's death, saying the boy had headphones on and didn't hear anything when she died. Instead of comforting his grieving son, he pushed him away. Now, he regrets it deeply. He blames himself for everything that happened to his son, and to Sang-min. Just then, Sung-joon gets a call. A detective says they found Young-ho's car, but it was smashed up and empty. Young-ho is gone. Seo-ha is also missing. She wasn't home, and they're still trying to track her down. Sung-joon turns to Sang-min and tells him about the DNA test results. They need to find Young-ho's mother quickly. Sang-min and Sung-joon begin working together on the case. They decide to investigate the neighbor who claimed she had known Yoon's family since childhood. When they meet her at a small restaurant, she reveals a shocking truth. Seo-ha's father and Young-ho's mother were siblings. But they had more than just a family bond. Their relationship turned romantic, and Young-ho was their son. Years ago, Seo-ha's father abandoned his family to live with his sister and raise Young-ho. This explains the strange medical examiner report they had received earlier. But the story only gets darker. The woman continues, saying that Seo-ha's father eventually returned home. The family believed he was possessed and began calling shamans to exorcise him. In fear, Young-ho's mother left with her son and moved into a temple. She claimed Young-ho had visions, a gift, but in truth he was just a normal child. She also mentions that Young-ho's mother was bullied when she was young. Born with a cleft palate, she had it corrected later, but the trauma remained. Suddenly, a memory strikes Sung-joon. He remembers an old woman with a scar he had met at Myung-gil's house. The scar matches the story. That woman was Myung-hee, Young-ho's mother. Meanwhile, Seo-ha goes to Moo-ju's bar, searching for him. He's not there. Frustrated, she heads to her car but discovers it's not working. When she checks on it, a strange woman approaches and injects her with something. Seo-ha collapses. That woman is the one Sung-joon has been hunting, Myung-hee. Seo-ha wakes up, tied down, while Myung-hee performs a ritual. When she finally regains full consciousness, Myung-hee calmly tells her the truth. She is her aunt and also Young-ho's mother. Seo-ha is horrified. The woman had a child with her own brother. She screams at Myung-hee, calling her insane. In a haunting flashback, we see Seo-ha's grandfather ordering Myung-hee to leave the house. He wanted her to follow the man she was married off to, but that man took the dowry and disappeared. Seo-ha's father begged to let her stay, but his father refused. Desperate and heartbroken, Myung-hee ran to a cliff, ready to end her life. Seo-ha's father stopped her just in time. She clung to him, begging to stay by his side forever. Back in the present, Seo-ha sees the murder weapon. Shaken, she asks Myung-hee why she killed her husband in Hongsik. Myung-hee's voice is cold but steady. She did it for Young-ho, to protect his future. Myung-gil had promised to leave the family's burial land to Young-ho, but he died before changing his will. If the truth about the incest came out, Young-ho would be shamed and rejected. Myung-hee couldn't let that happen, so she made a choice to kill everyone who stands in her son's way of getting the plot of land. And now, Seo-ha must die. Myung-hee is moments away from killing Seo-ha when she suddenly blurts out that thugs have kidnapped Young-ho and he might die. Shocked, Myung-hee freezes. Seo-ha manages to call the kidnapper, demanding Young-ho's release. The man gives her an address and tells her to come meet him in person. Without wasting a second, Myung-hee and Seo-ha rush to the location. Meanwhile, Young-ho is dragged into an old, abandoned building by the thugs. They plan to get rid of him by burning him alive in a ceremonial urn. Young-ho pleads with them not to hurt Seo-ha, but they respond by beating him. Moo-ju hatches a dark plan to burn Seo-ha together when she arrives. Elsewhere, Sang-min and Sung-joon meet with the village chief to ask about Myung-hee. The chief tells them where Myung-hee's house is, but the detectives do not find her there. Soon, they uncover signs that Young-ho has been kidnapped. Sang-min starts to suspect that Seo-ha might be involved. Their fears grow when they discover Seo-ha's car, doors wide open and a wooden board wedged underneath, like someone had sabotaged it. Sung-joon begins to piece it all together. He's certain Myung-hee's real target is Seo-ha and that the two are likely together. He tries calling Seo-ha, but Myung-hee rejects the call. Thinking fast, Sung-joon sends another message, this time with a threat: if you don't pick up, Young-ho dies. It works. Myung-hee responds, and Sung-joon is able to trace their destination. Back at the abandoned building, Myung-hee and Seo-ha arrive. Myung-hee suddenly hits Seo-ha, knocking her out cold. Her plan is clear: use Seo-ha as bait, then figure out how to save her son. The thugs appear and spot the unconscious Seo-ha. Without hesitation, they throw her into the large urn with Young-ho and start the fire. Inside the urn, using the last of his strength, he loosens the rope around Seo-ha's wrists before passing out. As the flames rise, Seo-ha regains consciousness. Gasping for air, she starts breaking down the bricks, trying desperately to escape before it's too late. Outside the warehouse, the thugs spot a car engulfed in flames. It was Myung-hee's doing. Taking advantage of the chaos, she shoots the thugs and rushes inside. Smoke fills the air as she tries to break open the burning urn. But just as she begins to make progress, the man controlling the furnace strikes her. Moments later, Sang-min and Sung-joon arrive at the location. The wail of police sirens echoes through the area. Panicked, the remaining thugs decide to destroy the evidence and set the entire warehouse on fire before running away. Inside, flames rage as Myung-hee regains consciousness. With sheer determination, and Seo-ha's help from inside, they finally manage to break open the urn. Outside, Sung-joon and Sang-min confront the fleeing criminals. Gunfire breaks out. Sang-min gets shot in the leg but still manages to help Sung-joon capture them. Just as Moo-ju tries to escape, backup officers arrive and arrest him on the spot. When Sung-joon spots Sang-min, he tells him to go help Seo-ha and Young-ho. He adds quietly, "My leg's ruined because of today, not because of the past." Inside the warehouse, flames engulf the place. Myung-hee and Seo-ha struggle to carry the unconscious Young-ho out and they finally make it to safety. Myung-hee kneels beside her son and, with tears in her eyes, apologizes for everything. Then, before anyone can stop her, she turns and runs back into the burning warehouse. The building collapses moments later, burying her inside. Young-ho screams in desperation but it's too late. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Seo-ha chooses to start over. She opens a small art studio. One day, Sung-joon visits her. He tells her she's no longer under suspicion. Young-ho had denied being kidnapped. When he asks if she still keeps in touch with him, she shakes her head. "No," she says softly, "but not because I'm avoiding him." A few days earlier, Sang-min had scolded Sung-joon, saying, "Your son misses you. You're heartless not to see him even once." Those words stay with him. Now, in the present, Sung-joon finally visits his son. He meets the boy and says, "I'm quitting the force and I'll come see you often." As for Seo-ha, she inherits the family land but decides not to sell it. It's part of her bloodline, her history. She buries Myung-hee's ashes at the family burial ground, beside her parents, offering her peace at last. Standing there in the wind, Seo-ha is finally free.